Oh, part one, folks. Night one. Welcome, welcome, welcome. WrestleMania 41, or I like to call it the most expensive show of the year. Because, man, there is a lot to say about WrestleMania 41. And this is only night one, folks, so we're not there yet. But it's a lot to really tackle in upon this show. To the build-up going into this, which I don't think was really good, and to what we saw on Saturday night and what's going to lead into Sunday night. Because it's going to be a few things to tackle here, but I call WrestleMania the most expensive show of the year due to the high influx of ticket sales and why they didn't even sell out, even though they tried to say they did. But, hey, that's TKO for you. But we already know about the astronomical prices when it comes to, well, hell, WWE itself. But Mania, Las Vegas, Alignment Stadium, gonna be a lot to tackle here today. So before I actually get into the actual review itself, let my co-hosts introduce themselves for this WrestleMania review today for night one.
Oh, yeah, this straight face 40. Man, back on here. Let's talk about WrestleMania night one. I'm ready for it.
Yo, this is Gerard. Happy to be here, man, as usual. You already know how it goes.
Yep. Yeah, let's get right into it then. Kicking it off on this show tonight, Alignment Stadium. Obviously, they showed the people arriving to the building. They had Triple H out there basically saying, welcome to WrestleMania, which is going to be a lot to talk about him later on. And we kind of kicked off this whole show. I know they had Jelly Roll perform, and we had the DJ table at the beginning of this show for the first match promoting Fatal Fury. Basically, Fatal Fury, it's a new game coming out. But get ready for the advertisements tonight. So we kick it off with the World Heavyweight title on the line. Jey Uso, who had a whole bunch of people coming out with yeet flags, Las Vegas Raiders cheerleaders, and him coming through the crowd, doing his 10-minute entrance almost, basically, which obviously took up a lot of time when you look at these Jey Uso entrances now. Don't get me wrong, it's over with the crowd, but I ain't gonna lie, there are times where I just kind of skip ahead to get to whatever he's talking about to the match itself now. But he did go against Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship, and this opener, man, it's a lot to take from this. Now, I figured Jey Uso was going to win anyways. Obviously, how commentary been putting it up, and that, he's 0-3 against Gunther. He won the Royal Rumble, which I know everybody's still going to question about the Royal Rumble itself, that you don't even main event WrestleMania when you win the Royal Rumble, you're opening off the show, but they've done that a few times in the past. It'll never make any sense, but hey, it happened. This match, to me, I don't think it was bad. I figured Jey was going to win anyways. I know some are going to say he spams a lot of moves and stuff, just from the super kick to the splash to, I don't know, it's not a power bomb, but it's like another move too. But I was enjoying the match because here's the thing going into this thing. I think the build to this match has sucked. It really did. And it didn't even really get better until like the last 2 weeks, going into WrestleMania, okay? So I figured like, okay, with the 2 weeks they had that kind of made it look good, maybe, it can go somewhere then. And it really was. The match itself, like I said, I don't think it was bad. But, like, you kind of knew who was going to win here. I know Gunther tried to walk out at one point. He even hit him with the title. And, obviously they were trading chops out there. And, Jey Uso just kept getting back up in super kicks and everything. And he had, 3 Uso splashes. But the thing I think I was surprised at the most about this match was when Jey put Gunther in a sleeper hold and he made him tap out. So he didn't just pin Gunther. He tapped out Gunther, which was very surprising to see. So I was like, oh, damn, he didn't just pin him. I'm like, damn, Gunther and Mania just ain't really working out in the past 2 years now. But that's the most thing I was shocked at. And then obviously after everybody celebrated and, Jimmy Uso came out and, celebrated. But no, we didn't have anybody to help Jey. No Jimmy come out. This was all straight up clean, straight up match. And he tapped out. So I thought it was very interesting match to open up the show, but I think I'm more surprised that Gunther tapped out.
Thing that was very surprising. I thought Very much so. It was going to be a 1-2-3 finish. Again, if wrestling ever got into sports betting, this would be one of them matches that they would hell win big on because no one would have bet on Gunther tapping out at WrestleMania to Jey Uso. Like that just isn't on anybody's bingo card. So seeing it happen, it was like, all right, that's dope, but very much so. I wonder what the next moves are going to be post WrestleMania for Gunther. Is it going to be a title shot for the big one? Is it going to be, mid card madness for a few months? Is it going to be, something else? We don't know. Is it going to be a face turn? We don't know. So it does leave a lot in the air. It was just really surprising to see it happen, but it makes sense in the sense of the story, seeing how Gunther has basically been beating Jay and Jimmy into submission for the last few months. It does make sense, that Jay would do that for the storyline. It just, was surprising to see.
Oh, yeah, same here. I really was surprised, but I was hyped for that though because it made me jump out of my seat. That I saw him tap out. I'm like, oh man, you rarely see this happen. I think the last time it happened was him against Ilya. You know, so I was surprised. I like, man, they wanted it. They wanted to get it over, and they got it over. You know, as far as the match, as far as the match, I didn't really particularly, think it was like, you know, pretty good. I thought it was pretty good, not bad. It was all right to me. It wasn't. It didn't knock me out my socks until the ending part. You know, and when they were going home. But other than that, I really, I kind of enjoyed this match. It was alright. I just needed them to do what they needed to do and put the title on Jay. That's it. And that's all I needed them to do, and that's what the crowd wanted.
Yeah, that's what the crowd wanted. And I know a lot of people have turned on Jey Uso in the past few weeks, ever since he botched that dive, and everybody was now saying like this guy should not be getting a world championship, or they picked the wrong Royal Rumble winner, or they're burying Austin Theory and stuff. Like it's like a lot of people just now turned on Jey Uso all of a sudden, and it's like I think people thought to act like this was going to be some great technical match out he was going to have with Gunther, and like I say, it was okay. It wasn't a bad match, or anything, but it's just kind of funny to an extent that people just start turning on Jey Uso because of that botched dive, and everybody said this guy does not need to be the world champion. He is not it, because at the end of the day, he's over as hell. Okay, he's over as hell. He sells merchandise. We see everybody eat for almost 10 minutes all the time. I expect. I figured he was gonna win, and just felt like the build really sucked until like the last 2 weeks when Gunther beat up Jimmy, and Jay started getting more serious. Then instead of doing the same old, hey, yo, Oos, man, they say I couldn't do it, Oos. They say I couldn't do it, Oos. I gotta go in, Oos. I gotta do it, Oos. Like now they at least they try to make him serious towards the end. But like going into this, I figured this was gonna open up the show anyways, just to hype up the crowd. I know everybody's gonna say, "Hey, you won the Royal Rumble. Why aren't you not main eventing the show?" I'm like, we've seen people win the Royal Rumble before, and they still didn't main event the show. We've seen people open the show before when they won the Royal Rumble, but I figured this was gonna open up this whole thing. I don't know how long Jey Uso will be champion. I know some are already saying like, how long is he really gonna have this title to carry the reins like that? To me, maybe SummerSlam. I don't know. But I'd like I said, I think just the most surprising thing to me out of this whole match was that Gunther tapped out.
Yeah, I think SummerSlam should be it. I think the same thing. It all depends on how the crowd is still reacting to him. But in a perfect world, I say I go with SummerSlam. I think SummerSlam should be it, and he should work on his character a little bit more afterwards. Just to make it go over a little bit more. The great ones, they don't be complacent. So I don't want him to get complacent out there. You reached the top, but you ain't stayed there yet. So I think it's SummerSlam should be it.
No, I agree. I think SummerSlam works perfectly for a guy like Jay. It gives him enough time to hold the title, do his thing with the title. BJ Uso, it's just me. The crowd's gonna go crazy, and then he loses it, and in SummerSlam in a big fashion. And it kind of still keeps him over, almost kind of like with Gunther. Like I don't think Gunther is all of a sudden gonna take a nosedive into like mid card. But I do feel like it kept him big enough that if he does say, for instance, they could push him for the title, whether John Cena or Cody Rhodes win tomorrow, I think that would still be pretty feasible. I think he's still somewhat of a beast. I think again, Jey Uso got beat so many times by Gunther that one win against him is almost kind of like, like if somebody's kicking your ass 10 times out of 9, and then that one time is like, you got me. Cool. It was a big win, but if they played it back, I don't think Jay would win, just based off of the record. But yeah, I think they could do the same thing with Jey Uso and SummerSlam. Give him a big loss that keeps his momentum going, that people will want to see him go somewhere else with it, and see what happens. Maybe even Jay and Jimmy can go for the tag titles in the near future, seeing how they get back on good terms and things like that. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens in to where it goes, and like I said, how long Jay will be the world champion. Because it's like, like I said, I know it took a little bit of time to get through the build of all this whole thing and where it got to, but I think we all figured Jay was gonna win. I think I probably would have been more surprised if Jay actually, lost right here. But it's like, nah, he's gotta win right here. But I just thought the match was okay. I just think the tap out thing was just the most surprising thing to me about this whole match. Like that's what really got me. It was like, oh damn, he tapped him out. He didn't just beat him, he tapped him out. So I think that's just the most shocking thing out of this whole match. But like I said, it was a good way to open up the show, get the crowd hyped up and everything, because this is where it started to fall off next then. Because as we move on from the World Heavyweight title match, we move on to the World Tag Team titles now. The New Day versus the War Raiders, brought to you by Clash of Clans. Basically, this whole show is advertisements. And to me, I thought this was the worst match of the entire night. Because one, I did not care about this match. Two, it did not need to be on the WrestleMania card. There was no heat in this. I believe I believe they fumbled the New Day's heel turn, because I feel like after the whole Big E thing, they haven't really done nothing like nefarious really after that. Um, I knew this was going to be on the card, given they literally fought on Raw. Then again, it was a Raw match anyways. But the fact that they were on Raw like a week or two ago, in a title match with a comedian on commentary, which that didn't help, and it was a DQ finish. It's like I knew this was going to happen, and the match was going to be a WrestleMania. So it's like, to me, they should have put that TLC match on the show. But we gotta wait till SmackDown next week for that one. So instead of putting the Street Profits, the Guns, and DIY in a TLC match on WrestleMania, which would have made a lot of sense, no, we gotta wait till next Friday on SmackDown. But to me, I don't have nothing much to say about this match. The New Day won. They did their finisher, and then they kind of held Ivar's foot and everything to win the tag title. So New Day won, but the crowd did not care. Nobody cared about this match. The crowd was dead. They were very dead. I don't know why this even needed to be on the card. There's a lot of matches I felt like that shouldn't even made the WrestleMania card. Some of these matches sound like they could have been on Raw and SmackDown, and this is a prime example of one of them right here. There was nothing really like, something that was going to make you interested. And even the War Raiders tried. They tried to, like, get people into it, but nobody cared. Now, if Big E would have came out and maybe screwed the New Day out of the titles, okay, maybe that would have been something. But this was literally nothing. I'm just really surprised this even made the WrestleMania card. I did not care when I watched this. I think I was probably doing something on my computer at the time while watching this. I was just kind of waiting for it to end. So yeah, New Day win the tag titles, but it's this is whatever. This was just to really promote Clash of Clans. That's all they really talked about. Like, oh, the Viking Raiders are dressed like Vikings, but they didn't have the Hog Riders out there and stuff. So yeah, I don't got much to say about this. This shouldn't even been on the card. So is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make mine quick because I agree with everything you said. You said everything that I agree with. I was so excited for a New Day heel turn. I was excited for the way that they did it. Like excluding Big E. I was excited to see what they were gonna do with it. And I'm not mad. Like I do feel like they fumbled the heel turn. I'm not extremely mad at it because it makes sense that it would be a comedic heel run because it's the New Day. Like I don't think the New Day in any serious form will work, but I feel like the New Day as a heel team a little less silly. Yeah, because again, like Lil Yachty, that shit didn't have to happen. All of the funny things like Kofi Kingston having the fucking no mustache but the beard, that shit's hilarious. Like it's funny, but it also just takes away from the fact that they are a heel team. So it's kind of weird, but very much so. I agree with what you said as well about how boring this match was. This was definitely one of the matches. Like I think during that match, I was getting me some ice cream and cake. My mama had bought a lemon cake from Portillo's. If you're from Chicago, you know what I'm talking about. And
Hey,
literally, like that, basically that match was me getting that ready and like just like eating some ice cream and cake, man. So like I didn't pay attention much to the match. It wasn't nothing going on that I haven't already seen between either one of those tag teams. There was really no build up for it that I was excited about. It was just kind of like here and there and gone. I agree with what you said about having the match from SmackDown on WrestleMania. I think that would have been a little more exciting. It would have been really cool to see. But yeah, I agree with what you said, man.
But yeah, I definitely agree with what you said. But with both of y'all, I didn't understand this match. Like, why this match was on the WrestleMania card? Why we choose this match? We could have had a fatal four way tag team match that they had. Because on SmackDown, everybody been beating up everybody, and been feuding with everybody in the tag team division. So I thought they was just gonna throw them in a multi man match. That would have probably been more exciting. But at the same time, this is the result of Western wrestling tag team division. There's nobody with a good tag team division out here anymore. I don't understand that everybody flopping on the tag team. You know, I think they flopped with the New Day heel turn. They made them more like Gerard said. They made them more comedic, and they didn't need to be comedic. After that hot angle with Big E, that wasn't comedic. That was really soul crushing. They all played a part. I didn't understand why they didn't continue it. And they needed to continue it with a top name. What I thought they were going to do with Rey Mysterio, but I just didn't understand, man. They fumbled with the whole New Day heel turn. They fumbling with the tag team division. It just needs to work.
yeah, I agree. I think this was not good. I go back even when it was leading up to the heel turn of Woods and Kofi, being at odds at each other. And even that promo they cut, the week before they, removed Big E. But when they was talking about, saying like, there's a reason why we never let you have the ball, Woods. You can't be up there with us. Me and Big E, we been WWE champion. What singles title you ever got? Woods saying like, at least I didn't squander mine in like 10 seconds to Brock Lesnar and all of that. So it was getting really hype going into this whole thing. But after the Big E stuff, they had the heat, and then it just kind of went away, and it got too comedic then. So it's just like, and then even going into this match, it's like I didn't even really know how they even got a tag title shot to begin with. It's like I think they won a match, but that's kind of it. And say what you want about the teams on SmackDown, at least there's some story going on along there. I know the crowd hasn't really cared much about the tag teams on SmackDown when the matches come on, but at least there's story to build off there. The Raw tag team, first off, you don't even see the Viking Raiders on TV. You barely see them on TV. I'm surprised they even got a WrestleMania match. Because what was the last thing they was doing before they fought the New Day? What was literally the last thing they were doing? Because I haven't really seen them since. And then somehow they got a Mania match. So it's like, why was this even making the card? It was just a lot of things questionable. But like, yeah, the New Day stuff, it fell off. So it's like, yeah, they won the tag titles, but it's like it's whatever, really. All this was really whatever. So it just amazed me that this made the card.
Uh, my bad. But yeah, I feel like I feel like I don't know where the upside to any of the tag team divisions in WWE. I don't see the upside. I don't know. Like Street Profits, I like the Street Profits. They need to be in some type of real feud to even make the title mean something or make the feud mean something. But it's just I don't see another tag team with a good upside that could put the tag team division back on the map.
Yeah, and let me say this too about the Street Profits, and my friends they told me about this, and I recommend looking up the clip. But the Street Profits was on Cameron and Mace's show, and Cameron was like cooking the hell out of the Street Profits, and I thought he was making the points
Yeah.
like, how come y'all ain't on the WrestleMania card? Like, man, y'all on the undercard, y'all on SmackDown defending y'all tag titles and stuff. Like where y'all at? Y'all ain't even on the Mania card. What streets y'all from? Y'all the Street Profits. What streets y'all from and stuff? It looked like Dawkins was really kind of getting mad about this. He was kind of going off. Montez was like being more, professional WWE guy. Hey, it's WrestleMania. We're all here. It's Las Vegas and everything. Like, Dawkins like, yeah, we out here, man. We beat all the tag teams. We the chance for a reason. But I was kind of like with Cameron, like, how come y'all ain't on the Mania card? Y'all just defending y'all titles on SmackDown, which end up being in a DQ finish anyways. So, yeah, the tag division itself. And here's another thing, too, let me add on. We don't really see any tag team titles on any of these pay-per-views. So I'm actually surprised it even made the Mania card. Because the last time we saw any type of tag team title match on any pay-per-view was the Royal Rumble with the Guns and DIY, and the crowd did not care. They did not care. And before that, we didn't even have any other tag team titles on any type of pay-per-view until, again, tonight. So you have to really question the tag division right now. You really do.
So I have the solution. I know Casey said that um, there's no tag team that'll get the crowd excited. There is a tag team that's in the WWE that's not quite a tag team right now that will definitely get the WWE excited. The name is the Lucha Bros. If they were to get together through draft, through some kind of way, and start running as a tag team, I think those who haven't seen them perform as a tag team yet, those who weren't watching AEW, those who weren't watching Lucha Underground, those who weren't just keeping up, will really be excited to see what they do as a tag team. And see, again, they already love how both of them wrestle as single stars. And we're about to see what Penta does tonight. I don't think he's going to win, unfortunately, but I think he's going to be one. He might be the one who steals the show, potentially, for sure, where it's like, wow, he walked away with like the biggest crowd pop outside of like the main event. Um, but definitely, I think having a team like the Lucha Bros, and we'll see what they do or how they get pushed to the tag team later on, maybe this year or next. But for sure, I think they can get a crowd excited.
All I can say is what we wait and see if they do put the Lucha Brothers back together though as a tag team again. So, because right now the tag division needs something, they really do, because it's really off the rails right now, and this did them no favors on this match for WrestleMania. So this did not do them any favors on here. But let's move on from that. Next we had Jade Cargill versus Naomi. Naomi, who now looks like Owen Hart with the caution tape, who had new music by the way too, which I feel like I may need to give that another listen to, because I know it's like some rock music they gave her now, or metal. But I don't know. Everything Def Rebel makes in WWE when it comes to music is trash anyways. But I need to at least listen to this again to just kind of get my opinion on it. I couldn't hear it that well. Jade basically had like a weather report before coming out, making her entrance and stuff, which was pretty cool. I will say this is probably one of the matches on WrestleMania that has at least a pretty good story built up, going into this show. So there's a lot of legs to stand on from this match. I thought the match it was solid. I didn't think it was bad. Obviously, Jade is still pretty green out there, and I know Naomi carried a lot of this, but I didn't think it was I didn't think it was a bad match. I think it was only like 9 minutes out there anyways, but it was pretty good. Not Jade, but Naomi doing like the X Factor off the ring apron to the floor is pretty good. Even doing a big split-legged moonsault. Jade like doing the electric chair, which I thought this was like the only thing. There was some parts of the match that were a little bit rough, a little bit somewhat botched, but I thought that power bomb towards the end when she, like I said, electric chair and then going to a power bomb. I actually thought Naomi landed on her head pretty hard at first. Maybe that was the way the camera angle was, but I was like, man, that was a rough looking power bomb right there. But Jade ended up getting the jaded and winning the match. So like I said, I thought it was solid. Jade won. She beat Naomi, which I'm sure everybody saw that was gonna happen. I know someone's gonna question that Naomi probably shouldn't have took the pinfall here, given that you're trying to get this new heel persona over with her right now. Damn near being psycho and stuff, and just proceed with caution and everything. So they are really still trying to get that over. It's just like I feel like through most of this feud, we've seen Jade just kick the living crap out of Naomi several times. That is like, come on, Jade's gonna win this and stuff. So I don't know if they will continue this feud or anything. I know some may think that Naomi may play a part into the next night on WrestleMania when it comes to Bianca, because you saw the little segment on SmackDown. She's still trying to tell Bianca, I did this for you, and everything. So I don't know how that will probably continue, but I figured, like I said, Jade was gonna get the win here anyway. So I thought it was good. It was a solid match.
I really like this match. I think the new look and persona that Naomi is carrying is fire. The whole caution. I don't think the feud should be over. It could be over, but I don't think it should be over quite yet. I think there's more that y'all can unpack with it, especially with Bianca still being a pivotal piece to this whole thing that's going on. Uh, I think Naomi could become more psychotic. I think she could become obsessed with just ruining Jade Cargill, the same way that like Seth Rollins is obsessed with just CM Punk's downfall. He'll do anything just to see CM Punk lose. I think Naomi could be the same way for Jade, where it's like almost kind of like like again, just to bring it back to a fight analogy, like if you lose a fight, if somebody was like, "No, I'm gonna keep fighting you until I win," and it's like, "No, nigga, like, this is too much. Can't keep like it's just like I'm gonna keep messing with you like until you're finished, until you're out of the WWE. I'm gonna do whatever it takes, whether it be going into matches that I'm not even in, whether it be cheating to win matches that we are in. Like I don't care." So I think that can be a dope take, just like her becoming like just obsessively just hatred towards Jade. I also wouldn't be surprised if Bianca turns heel at some point. Maybe not tonight, but at some point, maybe there. Again, when I saw Bianca reaction at the Elimination Chamber when Jade first came back and started kicking Naomi's ass, very much so. I think she was putting up an act. I think she wants Jade to believe that she doesn't know what's going on. I think Naomi is telling some truth, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe most likely I am wrong. But I feel like she really did do it for Bianca. I think Bianca's trying to play it off like she doesn't know what's going on, but very much so is also threatened by the rise of Jade Cargill. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. But I really enjoyed the match overall. I thought it was a great match between the two.
Yo, yo, straight face, yeah. Hello, hello, hello. Case may have some technical difficulties, so kind of waiting on him to give his thought on the match and everything right now. But no, I get your point though, Gerard. I think it probably should continue. It probably go into a street fight, and he said I'll be back in a minute. But yeah, it'll probably end up going into like maybe a street fight. Maybe it goes at Backlash and probably continues and stuff. So I don't think this may be over. So it probably will continue between Jade and Naomi, because I feel like throughout most of the feud ever since Jade came back has just been beating the living dog crap out of Naomi. And I know Shaggy, he had kind of said at one point, I think we talked about this. I know he's not here, but like we talked about, maybe this match should have been the roles could have been reversed and everything. Because given Jade is just a giant and an Amazon and everything, shouldn't like Naomi kind of be like the somewhat underdog face trying to fight back at the Giant and everything, given, they, put Jade over just super strong and stuff? Or like, you think this should be the way it is right now with just the whole jealousy thing?
Honestly, I feel like her being that tall and strong and Amazonian, it works into the storyline because it's almost like, insecurity. Naomi can, if she wanted to, could be like, I worked my ass off to get where I am in the WWE. I didn't get here just because I, had the look, just because I'm, tall and strong and like, no, I had to put in work, and Bianca did too, kind of situation. So they could play into that actually a little bit easier than it would be if it was just the big strong Amazonian just beating up little old Naomi. I actually like the fact that the role is the way that it is. Um, that's just me. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, because I do kind of wonder if it went the other way. But yeah, straight face. What's your thoughts on this match?
Um, they're kind of, I would say, underrated. Everybody going. I said this on Twitter. Everybody went into this match ready to shit on it. You know what I'm saying? They were ready because you could tell by the crowd. They was on their hands. They really wasn't up for it until they saw all the reversals, all the little moves, the X Factor on the floor, the reversal into a suplex. It was a lot of stuff that was going on. The electric chair, even though it looked rough, but I could see where she was going with it, and if she could perfect it, that would be a nice move. And so I really appreciated this match. I with Gerard though. They can play more into it though. They can't be the last one. You could have that feud going probably a little, a little bit towards backlash. Would play into the part where Gerard was saying, I ain't get here because of the look. I got here because I bust my ass to get here. So I really liked it the match. It surprised me.
Yeah, it was a good match. And I thought it was solid though. It was a solid match. A little bit botchy towards the end, but it was good. But I feel like it does probably have to continue. It just can't really end off on this. So like I was telling Gerard, like it's probably got to continue, or maybe Naomi gets involved with Bianca. Given I was just talking about what happened on SmackDown and stuff, but I thought it was good, and with the crowd too. Like that's one thing about this crowd throughout the night. They were dead throughout a lot of this show until like certain aspects happened, but they were kind of dead for a minute throughout several times of the show tonight. So it's a lot to say about the crowd, but like I said, overall, I thought Jade and Naomi was pretty solid. It was good, a solid match. Um, right after that, we had the U.S. title on the line, and this is why I felt like the crowd really woke up. L.A. Knight versus Jacob Fatu. Jacob coming out with Solo with like a werewolf mask on, and Solo damn near trying to dress like Scarface almost with the white suit, and L.A. Knight coming out with a white Maserati, getting out of the car and everything. I thought this was a really good match. Talking about is the moonsault BFT, which at first I actually thought they botched it, but once they played it from a different camera angle, I'm like, okay, it connected off pretty well though. But I did enjoy this match. I thought both guys had their working boots on tonight. There, this was a really good match. I liked Knight doing the big German suplex off the top rope onto Jacob to the ground. Then I thought that was good. But yeah, obviously, like I said, the whole BFT moonsault thing that happened, but Jacob kind of basically recovered then because LA Knight was on the top rope and Jacob got him. He hit him like it was like I think it was like a big senton off the turnbuckle, which was pretty cool. And then like Jacob did like what 3 moonsaults I believe, and won the U.S. title. That was like about 10 minutes, but I thought it was good. I figured Jacob had to go over here. They really made Jacob look very strong for a good time now. And they had Haku come out and congratulate Jacob and everything, which kind of makes me wonder. I wonder why they didn't have Rikishi come out and celebrate with the Usos. I kind of wonder that now. So makes you think about that. But yeah, Jacob got the big win, big first singles title. Did I think Solo was probably gonna screw Jacob out of the title here? Possibly, but I feel like this is gonna build more into the storyline, and uh Solo's gonna get jealous until it's time to go after Jacob and take him out. Because even going into this match, like I said before, I enjoyed this match, but the build to it, I don't know. I felt like I'm being honest. I actually thought it was gonna be a fatal 4-way at first. I really did, because since everything was almost like a multi-man match on this card, I actually thought it was gonna be like Jacob, Solo, Strowman, and LA Knight in a fatal 4-way for the U.S. Title. But like we already got one fatal 4-way for the Intercontinental title, so we gotta have a one-on-one match here. But like I said, I enjoyed it, and Jacob got the big win.
I think this was one of my favorite matches for sure. But that's really because Jacob is one of my favorite new wrestlers that I've ran into or who's come to the WWE. Um, I think he deserves the push that he's getting. I know a lot of people are like, well, he hasn't been here long enough to get it. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, shut up. The dude is definitely going to be fire hot for a while. He's definitely can, be seen as a beast. We see him what he's done to Braun Strowman and things like that. We also forget how athletic the dude is. The man is doing spring moonsaults and got to be 300 plus pounds. Like, that's crazy. Like, the dude is kind of a beast. Very much so. I'm cool with him having the U.S. title. I think he's great on the mic, especially the walks. And, when he's talking and talking his shit and walking out to the ring. Very much so. I feel like Solo is about to come in and fuck all that up. I really feel like a Jacob Fatu face run is coming. I could be wrong, but I feel like the crowd loves him so much that I think it's only right to give him a face run. Whether be even if it's a small one, just for a few months to just to since the crowd is so over about him, especially if he goes into a feud with Jacob. I mean, not Jacob, with Solo. Um, I do, yeah, I see a lot of big things in his future. And as far as the match goes, I actually like the BFT, like the moonsault thing. I thought that was really dope. It was surprising. I didn't see it coming. I think definitely everyone sold their finishers well. Each other's finishes well. I think Jacob Fatu having to do 3 spring moonsaults just to beat LA Knight keeps LA Knight looking like a strong competitor. So it's not like a one and done. It wasn't anything like a squash match or anything like that. I think a lot of LA Knight fans will appreciate that. I also feel like this might not be their last match for this title. I could see this becoming like a thing for a while, where LA Knight is trying to beat him. I think he can go back and forth. Maybe LA Knight wins a few matches on SmackDown, and but Jacob keeps the U.S. title at the pay per view or something like that. But we'll only see. Only time will tell.
Um, I enjoyed this match. What Gerard, I'm with you. This is one of my favorite matches just because how much I love Jacob. For real, man. I really like this guy. He explosive. He big, fast, strong. It's like you got a combination of. It look like a football player, to be perfectly honest with you. That type of stuff that football people, people in football look for. How big you are and how fast you can explode. But my goodness, man, I think I think they need to end it here because here's the simple fact that I think they need to move on to Jacob and Solo as quickly as possible so we can establish Jacob going into the main event scene after that. Because I don't think you should hold him in the mid card too much longer. I don't think you can. Look at how good this boy is. And so with LA and see LA man, the crowd love him. Obviously, a lot of people, up and down about him and stuff. But here's the thing: I think he needs to start being with the main event guys because how over he is. Because I know it's kind of crowded. The main event scene is kind of crowded and everything. But I feel like if he stay in this mid card any longer, he might not even be over with the fans too much longer. But I think this match was like I said, one of my favorite matches, and I'm glad Jacob went over.
No, it was really good though. I'm assuming they may move LA Knight towards the world title now. Maybe. I know that's been brought up a lot. Why they don't push him towards the world, especially how over he is. Why don't they do it? I know people still think he's like the White Rock out there half the time. but they should do it tonight. So they got to at least do it because, like, how long can they keep him in the mid card? Me personally, I don't think he should have not here, but I feel like he probably should have been had the U.S. title going into Mania. I don't think he should have probably lost it back to Nakamura a few months ago because it didn't really do anything for anybody from there. But because I feel he had the title this time, like what, about 40-something days, I think, this time. So yeah, I think LA Knight is probably gonna maybe go for the world title, at least be in that title picture with the main event guys, because I feel like they gotta put him there now. Because, like I said, how over he is. So we'll see if that happens. But yeah, in Jacob's case, like he had to win here. He definitely had to win here. But I do believe it's gonna end up with Solo probably turning on him at some point. Not yet, but it's gonna get there. It's definitely gonna get there. So we gonna see what happens. But this was some good, real solid stuff, and I think the crowd was really alive for this match, given how both guys are so over that they was chanting back and forth with their names and stuff. So real good stuff here. Now next, I got a lot to say about what happened next, especially before we actually get to the match, because it's gonna be some things leading into this match. Because El Grande Americano, which was supposed to fight Rey Mysterio, but Rey Mysterio got hurt on SmackDown apparently, and he decided, apparently, would it be a work or a shoot here? He got replaced by Rey Fenix. But there's one thing I want to talk about before we get to this match, and that's WWE buying AAA. And I was surprised to see this. I even said that AAA must be down that bad if y'all let WWE buy y'all out like that. I don't think this is a good idea. I know a lot of people think it is already right now, but hey, man, we've seen it before with monopolizing wrestling and all that. When one place starts damn near trying to take over everything, we've seen it in the past. Like, Vince taking over the territories and whatnot. And yeah, I know this is TKO and everything, but you got to really think about the long run into this than the short term of it being good right now. Because I think it's kind of funny. And I know I've seen people bring this up. What, AEW just announced something about Grand Slam Mexico, and now WWE made this World Collide thing with AAA and WWE NXT, like I think a week or two before, and then have this big announcement and stuff. Because before, I was kind of wondering, like, man, wasn't AAA working with AEW last time I checked? But I guess they not anymore, and now y'all got bought out by WWE. I don't think this is a good idea. I'm not with the whole monopolization of wrestling, because I think people get worried that WWE's just damn near going to try to buy everybody out. I know there's been a lot of rumors with stuff lately. Whether it be The Rock wearing a New Japan Pro Wrestling t-shirt, and now people think they're trying to get NJPW, or even the partnership between TNA and whatnot, which, they haven't, I hope they don't get bought out by them, because that'll be the last time I, watch TNA then. If that's the case, I'll stop watching it after. But, it's just been, like I said, it's been a lot of, how can I say this? I know it's even been rumors. Cause I know at one point, and I don't know how true this is, somebody kind of brought up to me that they wanted Joe Hendry for one of the Scotland Raws, and he was going to lose to The Miz or something, which would have looked dumb as hell, especially as the TNA World Champion. If that's true, I'm glad TNA put their foot down and did not let that happen. But this whole AAA taking over, WWE taking over AAA, I don't think this is a good idea. It's just kind of monopolizing wrestling again, and it's just, it's the takeover and stuff. And I'm sure everybody's seen interviews throughout the week when it comes to either Nick Khan or Triple H just leading into WrestleMania, where it'd be going back and forth with fans, or whatever. Nick Khan making weird comments saying that WWE's an underdog company, which really makes no type of sense. They've been a juggernaut for damn near 40, 50 years right now before this dude ever stepped into the building. But yeah, I'm not down with this AAA thing. I'm not really down with WWE buying them out like that. I guess, like somebody said, CMLL is the only real, I guess, major, Mexican promotion right now in Mexico. And I know AAA and CMLL have a long-standing beef against each other too. Because I can bring back a story. I know it happened like a few years ago, but when that first Forbidden Door show was happening, yeah, I remember AAA and CMLL was beefing with each other so bad that Andrade or the Lucha Brothers couldn't even be on that show, because with AEW working with AAA at the time, New Japan works with CMLL. And like I said, it's a long-standing beef there. But now that they've been bought out by WWE, I just said to myself, I'm like, man, y'all must have been down so bad that y'all let WWE buy y'all out like that. So yeah, I'm just, I ain't with it, and I know I saw the video of like most of the luchadors and mostly Mexican wrestlers standing when they were doing the announcement, and I know El Hijo de Vikingo was there, so I kind of at least wanted to talk about that before we actually get into the next match. I'm just saying right now, I don't think this is a good idea. Think about the long term and short term.
I don't really have too much to say about it myself. Very much so. I'd rather they partner. I love.
This isn't a partnership.
I know. I know. I get it. What I'm saying is, I would love if they if it was a partnership instead of a full on overtaking. Um, I'm a big fan of when territories and wrestling companies come together and do things. I think that's always dope. But when it becomes a situation where it becomes a monopolized, thing, it makes it tough for wrestlers who are still considered independent contractors. If they don't want to deal with a certain company, if all of the companies are bought up by one company that they don't want to work with, it kind of puts them in a real bind if they want to make money for the shit they love to do. Um, that's the reason why different territories and businesses should exist, especially for things like wrestling, where they are still considered independent contractors, because they need to, make sure that they are also comfortable where they're working and what they're doing. And there's plenty of different owners and businesses that, if they don't like the business going on, they can leave and go to another company, go back to other companies, things like that, as they build a career. But they can't do that if everything's owned by WWE. So I agree. I get it. If you can do it, you got the money to. I get that. Finishing Vince McMahon's legacy, shit that he wanted. I get it. But I truly think that that's kind of fucked from a wrestler standpoint, who may not want to always deal with WWE. Just for the wrestling fans who are listening, if you also still agree, imagine if CM Punk uh, was forced to do WWE shit when he didn't have to before he came back. Most of us were very excited that he came back to AEW because it was a chance for him to do something outside of his WWE persona, and he was able to actually build something. I think he could have did even more if Tony didn't put his foot in his ass. But that's okay. Things get better, things move on, and we see that CM Punk is doing good now. But what if he didn't have that chance? So what if there's one of your favorite wrestlers who may not want to work or deal with WWE, who may already be on AAA, who now may have to consider leaving AAA or doing something different because, of this move. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Overall, once we get to the match, I do love the match in itself, but we'll talk more about that once everybody get their opinions out on this.
Well, I'm in the same mind as y'all. I feel like people need to be able to move around and do what they do they thing. Because certain wrestling companies, you can't do certain things. You go to WWE, you got to do it their way. And that's not good. People like Gerard said, that was a great example. What if CM Punk, back when everybody was for CM Punk and everybody who was said how WWE treated him wrong at that time. What if he had no other choice but do WWE shit? So yeah, I not really feeling it. Um, that's the world we live in. That's the fucked up part about it. That's the world we live in. Money talks all the time, and I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, because I was talking to Steven about this. Like, he saw people online talking about, oh, this is cool and everything. But it's like, y'all have no idea how bad this is gonna get. Like, you think it's cool now, but give it time, okay? And I think it's like, oh, well, this isn't Vince over there. Like, okay, what do you think Triple H learned from, okay? Or even TKO learned to some extent from Vince, all right? Because let's remember, even when NXT, the UK, let's remember where they got a lot of those NXT UK guys, where a lot of the British wrestling territory scene was basically going out of business because Triple H ended up taking everybody from the UK and need to have them on NXT or NXT UK and stuff. So I think people kind of forget that. And even another example, and people wonder why I don't watch the Evolve show. Because, like, to me, I'm like, why do I need to watch another developmental show if NXT is on? And let's remember, Evolve was a company itself before, too. But once again, WWE ended up taking them over. And now it's just, they're under a WWE umbrella, and they just another developmental show. Because you told me, like, oh, man, why would you watch Evolve? Like, oh, why you watching AEW over Evolve? Like, I say a lot of things about AEW, but I probably would choose AEW over Evolve. Sorry, but... And I know it's free on Tubi and stuff, but I just don't really have a desire to watch it. So I think people don't understand, like, when it comes to, like, the monopolization of wrestling stuff, it's not really a good idea in the long term. So I was just very surprised that AAA really got bought out. And I don't know a lot of people over there in AAA like that. The only knowledge I kind of have, I think Conan is like a booker down there. I know that. And I don't know if Alberto Del Rio was like the main champion. I know he had a title down there, but I don't know all the guys down there. I know about Hijo de Vikingo. We'll get to him in a second when we get to the next match. But yeah, I just I had to take a minute to talk about that because I just do not. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think this is not going to go out well in the long run of things. I know people want to say, "Oh no, you understand, man, different management." I'm like, all right, man, keep thinking that. Keep thinking that. I'm gonna give it time. That's all I'm gonna say. But this ain't a good idea to me. I don't think it's a good idea at all. So I'm just very surprised that they end up selling out like that. Because like I said, last thing I remember, they was working with AEW, and I guess they not no more. So I don't know, man. Like I said, everybody say it's like they trying to take over and everything. So that's why I be saying, like I always say about TNA, man, watch your back in this partnership. Watch your back. That's all I'm gonna say. Even though I think it's better than what happened with the AEW one, you gotta remember who you're working with here. Just really think about it. But let's move on from that though. Like I said, Rey Mysterio was replaced. So Fenix end up replacing him. Now, one thing I'll say this as we get into this match, I know a lot of people are going to say that, was Rey Mysterio really hurt, whether it be a work or a shoot, or this was just, hey, let's get Fenix on the card because we got his brother on the card already. So let's put Fenix on so we can kind of, take a shot at Tony Khan at the same time. I'm almost surprised I didn't hear Tony fumbled chants out there like I heard earlier in the day yesterday with Ricky Starks and them, because I know that chant's becoming real popular right now of Tony fumbled and everything. And I thought it was kind of funny because, me and Steven was talking about it, and he kind of brought up, we talk about AEW fumbling and everything, but can we talk about WWE kind of fumbled names too? And he was kind of bringing up examples like, Swerve and Tony Storm, or the Hurt Syndicate, or Athena, Mercedes and stuff. So it's like, we got to have like fair game here to some extent. Grande Americano, I will say this, they went all out with the entrance, having like the Mexican like old filter and everything, and being from like the Gulf of America and having the mariachi band. So I got to give like Gable a lot of credit. Like they really are putting a lot into this gimmick for Grande Americano and stuff. So I thought that was pretty fun when he had like the filter. The only thing I wasn't really a fan of going in the building into this to some extent was that I'm not a fan of AI all the way. Like there's some parts of AI I don't think are bad, but I'm not with the AI thing all the way. Especially when I told you, I think I said this before, but when it gets to a point where somebody's trying to tell me that when I made a thumbnail and I used the AI, I'm really kind of offended by that being a graphic designer, because I made it on my own. I don't use AI. I don't know how to use AI. I don't even know where you buy AI at. So yeah, AI to me is like, it's a up and down thing, but I'm not a fan of art stuff. I'll say that right there. But moving on from, like the Grande Americano AI stuff, that was pretty fun. But the match itself, I was actually surprised how short it was. I know they showed Dana White in the crowd like 2 times for some reason. He got booed. Power slap. They had El Hijo de Vikingo out there, who immediately kicked Grande Americano, because I guess he kept trying to taunt him. And this was a really good match. I actually wish it would have had a little bit longer time, because it was like 7 minutes. I think the best move out of this match was when freaking Americano did like a fourth, like what was it, a shooting star, not a shooting star, a moonsault senton. Like the dude like did a whole moonsault senton. That was cold. That was awesome. And I think Phoenix did really good out there too. I wish the crowd would have been a little bit more receptive to this match. I was just actually surprised how short. Honestly, I was actually surprised it's made the WrestleMania card in general between Rey Mysterio and you know, Americano to begin with, because I thought this match would have just probably been on Raw or something. But this ended up with Americano, taking the metal piece and putting it, sticking the head of his mask and everything, because Phoenix did like his, tightrope kick, and when he kicked Americano in the head, he hurt his own foot due to the metal piece being inside of there. So, with him selling the injury, Americano went for the ankle lock and everything, but Phoenix was able to get out of it. He tried to charge at Americano, but I guess he headbutted him with the metal thing in there. And then he did like a top rope headbutt, and that was the end of the match then. So, yeah, Americano won, and then El Hijo de Vikingo jumped the barricade and helped Phoenix to his feet. Honestly, I thought this match was probably going to end up with like Rey Mysterio and like the LWO and them coming out and stopping from Americano from cheating and everything, and then they were going to mask him to be Chad Gable. But I guess they're going to continue this whole thing because I don't know, like I liked the match, but it was a little bit weird how it kind of ended because like I said, the story continues then going into this, unless y'all gonna send Americano now down to AAA or something and continue this gimmick. So I was like, good for Gable at least getting a match on the card in general for WrestleMania. So I did like a lot of this. I did. It just I just didn't think this was gonna continue. So that's my take on it.
Firstly, I'd like to say I could never put disrespect on the name of El Grande Americano, as he is one of my childhood favorites. I've been watching him since I was at least 5, 6 years old. So seeing him get a push in the WWE is amazing. Like you saying, the Chad Gable, bro, I don't see any similarity. All right, let me stop playing. I thought it was a great match. Again, I'm a big fan of Phoenix and Penta. So getting the chance to see Ray Phoenix on, in WrestleMania night one, his brother's in night two. I think that's amazing. I think Bryce, you said this last night, was a big fuck you to AEW for sure. Um, Again, just two talents that y'all didn't quite know how to book, and now hopefully they'll get a great push. It seems like Pence is getting a good push tonight, even if he doesn't win. Him just being in contention for a singles title so soon in his career is great. In WWE, I think the match was great. I really do appreciate Chad Gable's like this gimmick. It's funny to me, like we all know it's Chad Gable. We all like it to me, I said this last night. It's like that if that Hulk Hogan gimmick just kept going when he was
Oh,
playing the
Mr.
Lucha Man.
America.
Yeah, so it reminds me of like if Mr. America just kept going, but with somebody that you could actually like. So I appreciate it. Um, I think it's a yeah. I think this is a great gimmick. I think it'll end probably with Rey Mysterio at some point. Um, but yeah, I think the match was great. I think Phoenix did exactly what he was gonna do. I think Chad Gable actually stole the show though with that top rope move. That was crazy. Even when it was happening, I was watching him slowly get on the rope, and I was like, "Look at him! That's like so unluchador, like slowly getting like like taking that long to set himself up for his moonsault because I thought it was gonna be a moonsault, and then he just fucking did another flip, and it was like, oh, okay, this is actually something different. This is dope. So like, it was dope to see. It was a great match overall. Definitely one of my favorites. Probably three out of the top three matches of the night for sure. It was probably number three for me. Um, yeah, great match, man.
Yeah, I enjoyed the match too. I really did. Phoenix, like Gerard said, Phoenix came in, did what he's supposed to do. Um, I'm you know I'm always surprised with wrestlers. You know, they barely had any time to rehearse or anything like that. For that match. So that came out mostly on the fly. So it's like, man, I'm surprised that it went as well as it did. You know, um, yeah, I really do think the Lucha Brothers should be together as a tag team cause like I said back when we were talking about the tag team title match, we do need, tag team to, get people hyped. And I think the Lucha Brothers are the tag team. But yeah, I enjoyed the match. I'm glad, like y'all said, I'm glad Chad Gable got a love. A match on WrestleMania card. That's what's up. And I know the feud will continue from here.
Yeah, it's gonna continue basically. So yeah, I can understand even with the comparison of like Mr. America and all that. So they're gonna keep rolling with this. I think until they get to the Rey Mysterio versus Americano match, so Mysterio can unmask him here. But it's like, hey, we got Fenix on the card for WrestleMania, so they just kind of gave it to him like that. But that, like I said, the story, like this whole angle is gonna continue and everything now. So I think even with El Hijo de Vikingo jumping a barricade, I think it's going to be a match between both of them at some point. Like I said, I think he's probably going to go down there to the AAA promotion, and they're going to do something down there. Like I think that's going to happen. Or whenever that Worlds Collide show, um, whenever that happens, I think it's going to be a thing. So, like I said, I enjoy what I saw here and the gimmick. So yeah, Gable he is really making this thing work. Like he really is. So you gotta give credit to that because I thought it was probably gonna be done here and they were gonna unmask him, but it's like nah, they're gonna give this some time. Like it's like Gerard said, man, he's one of the greatest luchadors of all time. Grande Americano, man. He's been out there when it was guys like Silver Mask and Blue Demon Jr. were wrestling way before this man put on the WCW cruiserweights back then. When they were promoting them, the luchadors.
Literally, like I remember seeing him versus Guerrero Senior. You know what I mean? I've seen him versus, Rey Mysterio Senior. This dude is the real deal. You know what I mean?
But
Again, I
matches
don't see the I don't see the comparison.
Yeah, for matches out there with Psychosis and Super Crazy and others. So yeah, man, La Parca, yeah, he was going in against those guys. So yeah, you may want to look that up, folks. But moving on, no, I know they had Shawn Michaels come out and list the attendance, which a lot of people said that was bullshit. Which I think we all know WrestleMania did not sell out. I don't think it did. Because I think it's kind of crazy that I was really hearing that WrestleMania didn't sell out, but I'm like, well, looking at the prices for WrestleMania and how everything is so high right now over there, it's like you paying Super Bowl tickets or going to a Beyonce concert almost. So we see all the events WWE is even putting on and how much money it costs. Like they got all these events, even and I heard about this too. You know, what was that? They got that WrestleMania After Dark now. They not even doing Wale Mania no more after this year because this was the last Wale Mania of the year. I heard now. So I guess that'll be well, now we're gonna put our own After Dark show on. And I guess, Wale just stopped it after this year now. So makes you wonder. But no, I just feel like I know they didn't sell out. So I just think it's funny when they had Sean come out there and say that. It's like, dude, you look at trying to go to WWE shows right now, it's like an arm and a leg you gotta do just to get in there. Like they've really just that's TKO. That's TKO for you, man. Hey, like I say, you got Dana White out there too watching. So, like, did anybody see Dana White get booed though?
Man, I did.
Oh yeah, they was not messing with him.
Man, I love the UFC. I mean, the owner, he cool.
Yeah, they were not messing with him out there. So I just thought I caught that when he was when they put the camera on him twice, surprisingly. So they did that. One thing I will say before the next match, I didn't get a chance to say at the beginning of this video, but what did y'all think about the WrestleMania stage, by the way? Because I liked it better than last year's with the giant XL. I felt that was some community creations type of thing. This actually looked like they put some thought into it.
Yeah, I fuck with it. I think it's great.
So I like the stage. I think it was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought the stage was pretty okay. I like the seats up there. They got the right view of the ring, and so I liked it.
Yeah, so I thought that was a pretty good stage. But next was the women's title on the line, and I got a lot of thoughts on this because at first, to me, to some extent, other than before the main event, I actually thought this was probably damn near the best match on the show. I thought at first before the main event actually happened. between Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte. What do you want to call this whole feud? A work or a shoot or a work shoot or whatever you believe how this went? Because this feud has went all over the place, and it really, once again, it's been a lot of feuds that have not been good going into WrestleMania, but it's almost like the only time people really got interested in this when it was in Chicago, and the whole promo went off the rails and turned into a shoot. Some believe this was a work shoot, or they tried to play into it. It's a lot to take from this, or Charlotte being unprofessional and whatnot. So, like, I don't know how y'all would take it, but it's a lot to go off on this. Now, the match itself, one thing I think is kind of funny, and looking at their entrances, I think Tiffany Stratton, which the champion came out first, by the way, and she had like I guess it was like a Barbie doll like type of entrance with like the video screens right by and her coming through the middle. And Charlotte's entrance was basically almost kind of like LA Knight's entrance, except she rolled up in like damn, what kind of car was that anyways? What was the car she came in that she got out the back seat? She basically was chauffeured there.
I'm not completely sure, but it looked like a Maybach or like a Rolls Royce of some kind.
Yeah, it was a nice looking car. But yeah, she got out of the car, and they kind of damn had the same gear, it looked like, 'cause they like both wearing pink. I even said that back when they did that promo. It was like they both low-key was wearing the same clothes, like wearing black. I will say, like, this match did have aggression to it. Like I say, both women were beating the hell out of each other in this match. And there was a lot of good stuff. I know a lot of people said Charlotte kind of carried a lot of this match, because it was times when Tiffany looked like she was kind of lost out there and didn't know what the next move probably was going to be. And so say Charlotte had to lead into it. Some people said Charlotte was calling spots out there. The loudest thing I heard her say when she said, like, get up, bitch, and just start chopping her in. One thing I'll say with Charlotte in this match, I don't know if she even did a moonsault. I know some wonder if she sold, which she did sell the bad knee, obviously, but some people wonder if it, still legit, and that she doesn't want to put the, that much pressure on it, given what happened, when she got hurt and how bad her knee was at the time and stuff. But going to the match, like I said, Tiffany trying to go for the whole moonsault and everything, a near fall, even Charlotte putting up her knees, kind of hurting her own knees, and then doing like the natural selection right after. And like I said, she was like just started doing a lot of trash talking, trying to go for the finisher again, but Tiffany got out of the way, and she did like an Alabama slam, and it was supposed to be into the corner, like up the turnbuckle, but it looked really bad, and it looked like I almost had to do it like a second time, and I think Tiffany did like a senton, then she did another moonsault and won the match. Then it almost went like 20 minutes. So I don't know what y'all take. This was a really good match in that, because I've been hearing like a lot of mixed opinions. I thought it was actually really, like, probably Dan, I thought it was one of the best of the night before the main event actually came on. I will say one thing. Charlotte gave Tiffany a beating, because she had like a chipped tooth and like a mark on her head and stuff. So Charlotte was kicking some ass out there. I don't think they took liberties amongst each other. I think this was a very stiff match. I do believe that. And then, like I said, they were beating the hell out of each other. But Charlotte was kicking some ass. But Tiffany winning the match. I'm not too surprised. Like, me personally, I thought Charlotte was gonna win just because. But then when I kind of think about it, I was like, well, we've already had one Royal Rumble winner win the title. I don't think they're gonna have the other one win. And some believe that this may be a punishment due to, some say Charlotte was going into business for herself throughout this whole feud, especially when they did that promo sitting down, and Charlotte just kind of talked over her most of the time. So I don't know, but some believe it's a work. So in a way, I'm kind of like up and down about this match, but the most thing I heard is that they said Charlotte really kind of led Tiffany throughout a lot of this. So I don't know if they will continue this feud next, but I guess some would say they kind of threw a bone at Tiffany to get a win, because it's like, okay, we just can't have Charlotte win all the time. But Charlotte left the mark, though. I'll give her that.
Oh yeah. I truly feel like this was another one of them great matches. I love how stiff it was, especially again, just from a social media standpoint. That argument when Tiffany was just like, "Nigga, you like your marriage record is on 3," like, and hopped out like I think that in itself was kind of like, all right, cool. Y'all could use that as a access point to why y'all so stiff in this match. I truly feel like maybe even just from how stiff Charlotte was, I agree with that. Just based off of how stiff she was, maybe there was some going into business for yourself on both ends, and I think maybe Charlotte was being real stiff. Again, she's known to kind of do that sometimes. Remember that match she had with Nia Jackson? It kind of damn near became a fight in the middle of the match for no reason. So I could see it. I could definitely see it. Yeah, but I agree, man. This was a fire match, man. I think it was the best women's match for sure. And I think Jade and Naomi definitely had a great match. So this was definitely another one of those just top barn burner type matches. I really enjoyed the physicality in it, man. I'm glad Tiffany won because again, just Charlotte be winning so fucking much. Like sometimes it's just good to see somebody else have that moment. But very much so, I don't think this feud is over. I feel like it could become even more brutal just based off of how it's been so far. Um, we could be walking away like, damn, this is one of the better, feuds that we've seen between ladies in a minute, and this is even again adding in the whole Naomi and Jade thing. So like, we'll see. It's a lot of cool things happening in the women's division right now. So yeah, I'd love to see where it keeps going from there.
Yeah. I thought this match was hard hitting. Ain't no ifs ands or buts about it. And it was really, it was like I don't know how to put it, but it seemed like they agreed on beating the hell out of each other. Saying, "Hey, that gonna make it real out there. Make it look real." Um, I called this because as soon as that promo happened in Chicago, I knew then they didn't want these two girls to be with be a part with each other no more. They don't want them to be paired up again because it's too much. We're gonna separate it. We're gonna draw a line under this match, and they go do whatever they need to do. But um, I'm and on one hand, I'm glad that Tiffany got the retained, but on the other hand, other than this feud, she didn't really light the world on fire with anything that she done other than this feud. And it's only because that it was that whatever they want to call it, shoot, work, whatever. But it was because of that promo. Everybody got interested in it. And I hope they draw a line under it and have them girl do separate things. But what do you do with Charlotte? I would read it. I would read it something earlier. Um, that in the backstage um, uh, uh, she doing a lot of stuff that antagonizing the younger wrestlers, the younger female wrestlers, that's in the company. And what do you do with that? Like, do you punish her or do you have her on TV? Because that's not good. That's kind of toxic. If you over here try your best to antagonize the future of the company because you see yours is about to fade off into the sunlight soon enough. You see that big old knee brace that she wearing. She ain't wearing it for no reason. So, yeah, I don't know what to do with Charlotte after this, but Tiffany, um, hopefully she'll have another feud that light the world on fire or something. Hopefully.
Uh, yeah, and I know Tiffany is over with the crowd. I don't think she's really all that on promos. Oh, I never thought both women were really all that on promos in general. So I don't know whether they continue this feud and keep it going or not. Or like I said, if Charlotte even really wants to, even really want to put other talent over, unless I guess maybe she feels like they earned it. And listen, we've heard about stories about Charlotte having someone going to business for herself, like Gerard brought up the Nia Jax thing, or even the stuff with Becky when it was that whole trade the titles and she just kind of threw it on the ground, which apparently that wasn't supposed to happen because remember it was like the trade the Raw and the SmackDown ones, and she just do it on the ground, almost like say like, hey, pick it up, bitch, like something like that. So like this isn't really new when we hear this. I don't know. Like I said, I know you said you read that earlier. If that actually happened about whoever Charlotte, I don't know. I guess it depending on what talent she likes to, if she even wants to put them over. Now, either that or you're trying to bring the best out of them. I'm not sure. So that's why I'm kind of like, what has been a work shoot or stuff? It makes you really kind of wonder what all it is. And I guess they was like, okay, we got to put Tiffany over to some extent then. So I don't know. It makes you I don't know. It's a weird thing to go off of where this is going to continue with both women because they could continue to feud. So, get what I mean?
Yeah, I do agree that they can continue to feud if both girls are professionals. You know, only reason why I brought that whole little article up that I read this morning because we saw this in real live action. You and Gerard pointed some key points out. I know you try to you were trying to be like hey let's not go with the allegations or anything like that, but when certain things kind of match up. But if it's a quack like a duck and walk like a duck, damn it, it's a duck. And so I'm sorry, I feel like these articles are true. And y'all both know how much of a big Charlotte fan that I was. It kind of faded because I'm listening to this and I'm seeing it in real action. Like, yeah, she is doing this on purpose. You know, so you can like a person but still be objectified. You can still objectively criticize that person even though you still like that person. But I feel what you were saying though, Bryce.
Yeah, because it's already been questionable ever since she won the Rumble, and people wonder why she won the Rumble, which I didn't have a problem with her winning because I was like, who else was really going to take it looking at the roster? So I wasn't even really too mad about it. But we saw how fans were really pissed off about it, given because Charlotte wins a lot. Okay, she wins mostly all the time. So people wanted like to see somebody different win the Rumble, but it didn't really bother me that much. Or some people wanted like, was she really? Well, I thought she was good in the match, so I can't say like she wasn't ready to come back. I think they were just trying to be careful of her coming back from the whole knee injury and stuff. But some people want, because like I said, we saw her get rattled in Chicago, or maybe because it still has to do with the whole divorce thing with Andrade. I don't know, because like at least like the end result of out of all this, I think the match was really good, and like I said, both women beat the crap out of each other out there. So it's like, okay, whether this is a work or a shoot or a work shoot, they made it work out there. I'll say that. So it's not like, yeah, Charlotte got beat, but she was still standing, walking out of the ring, just kind of looking on, almost like this isn't over type of thing. So hey, it could continue. I don't know, but I know they did kind of have a stare down even after the match too, before Charlotte, walked into the back and everything. So it makes you wonder if a lot of this stuff is, a lot of the articles are true in that. But we'll see what happens next. That's all I can say. But I guess we'll move on after that. I know they brought the Hall of Famers out there. Austin and Brett for the Moment Mania match and everything. They brought out Michelle McCool, the Natural Disasters, Earthquake's family, and Typhoon or the Shockmaster. Didn't see Lex Luger out there. I guess Lex. I know he stood when he did his speech at the Hall of Fame, but I think he fell apparently. So hopefully he's okay. So I was kind of wondering why he wasn't there. And Triple H being the headliner. Did anybody see any of the Hall of Fame, by the way? Because I kind of looked up a few things. I know a lot of people was damn near falling asleep. During the Hall of Fame. I heard Triple H talk for like a whole hour. I wasn't gonna watch it really anyways. Like I saw a little of it, but it's like, come on, man. The Hall of Fame was already starting late as hell anyways after SmackDown. They had to go to a different building, and it was like over an hour and a half after. I know people already looked up footage of Jey Uso, who apparently was drunk when they was interviewing him. And like I said, dude has sunglasses on during the Hall of Fame, so he probably was asleep. But you can see like Booker T nodding off and others. I think it was during Triple H's speech. But like, did anybody see any type of footage of the Hall of Fame? Because I wasn't gonna watch it, and I know a lot of people are gonna say this is just another example of Triple H putting himself over once again, leading in all of this. Because yeah, Triple H is the headliner, but you never really see any type of, you didn't see any video packages of any of the other Hall of Famers going into the Hall of Fame. It was just mostly Triple H video package. We didn't see like anybody else leading into it. And to me, I feel like they just run out of ideas and run out of people to put in the Hall of Fame. Because, like, I'm sorry, Michelle McCool, and I get it was Undertaker that put her in, but let's be honest, that was just freaking nepotism. Like, let's be honest with ourselves here. And they didn't even get nobody to induct the natural disasters. Nobody didn't even induct them. Like, Luger deserves it. I get Luger. Like, he deserves it. But and the fact that we putting matches in now, yeah, we run out of ideas for this thing. So I don't know what y'all thought about it when it comes to the Hall of Fame.
I did see the Hall of Fame, Bryce. And I hear how this how I feel about the Hall of Fame, and I think I talked to you before about this. I don't respect it. I really don't, and I I really would be happy if somebody would go into the wrestling, like the real Hall of Fame that over all wrestling, not just the WWE. This class especially kind of was like only people who really was legitimate to me that I know of, because I wasn't a wrestling fan with Earthquake and Typhoon and all of them. I probably wasn't even born when they were when they wrestling Hulk Hogan back in the '80s. So I ain't know not too much about them. I know about Michelle McCool, and I know damn well that she didn't need to be in there. In real talk, I don't remember. We talked about this, right? What match can we say, man? Shit, that was a raw ass match by Michelle McCool. Come
Oh
on.
man, you don't remember? You don't remember the no holds bar match where she smashed Stratus over the head with a guitar? You remember?
uh, uh,
No, yeah,
uh,
I have
I,
to. Yeah.
no, but to be honest though, it's like I look at this Hall of Fame, and I look at like Triple H is definitely deserving. The headline especially. You know, it was truly just about him for a person who didn't know that he would be abducted. Shit, that whole thing was about you. You know, y'all added a little trinkets here and there just to make it seem like it ain't all about you, but damn it was about you. But yeah, I ain't watched the Hall of Fame. I ain't bothered with it.
Yeah, like other
Yeah,
than Triple H and Luger. Oh, go ahead, Gerard.
I definitely didn't watch it. Yeah, Michelle McCool. That surprised the fuck out of me. Shout out to her for making it, but all right, that's what's up. Triple H, I thought he was already in. Then Bryce was like, "Yeah, he's in with DX, so that makes sense." Give him a solo. Shawn Michaels got a solo. Lex Luthor, of course. Earthquake in the Family. That was dope. Again, a little bit past my, you know, wrestling experience, but I still feel like the legends deserve it. Yeah, at this point, they might as well bring Christian in, man. Fuck it. I don't know who.
Yeah, like
Go
we're
ahead, throw the
putting
Hardy Boys in
matches
there. Yeah,
at
yeah.
some point, but yeah, we're putting matches in the Hall of Fame now, so that tells you where this is going. But yeah, like I just kind of look at it like it is what it is. But I'm almost surprised they didn't have Layla induct Michelle in. But it was like, well, okay, well, Taker's her husband, but like I said, it brings up the nepotism thing, and I think I remember Kyle telling me one time. I think you told me like Cornette said like name one great Michelle McCool promo or match. Like literally name one. Because all I can really think of is just delay cool that stuff. That's all I can really think of out of all this. So it is what it is. And I'll say it was nice to see Luger, get up and stand and do his speech from what I saw from the clips. Some say he probably should have been in a long time ago, really. I know it's a lot of controversy still a little bit behind him because people believe that he killed Miss Elizabeth and stuff. But yeah, it's been all like, I think we talked about this before, but some say she couldn't handle her coke. That's been brought up a lot. Some say it's a wild take, but I'm like, been around, so I don't know what else you want me to say. But yeah, some believe he probably should have been a while ago. So like like I said, the Hall of Fame is the Hall of Fame, but the fact that you're doing it this late in the night and you see people falling asleep is crazy almost. So I didn't watch it because it was late at night anyways, and I'm like, I'm not about to sit and go through all this. So if Triple H's speech was an hour, like I can understand that because he's the headliner. But if it was like 2 a.m, then how many people really about to, like I say, you saw people falling asleep. So what else can you take from that? But moving on from that, we now get ready to go into the main event of this show. Triple threat match. CM Punk versus Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins came out who looked like a giant trash bag, or he stole Masha Slamovich's entrance gear and came out with a flamethrower, and then everything went dark. And then he had all like white on and shining, almost like it was some Undertaker, Shawn Michaels entrance from WrestleMania 25. Roman Reigns came out with the Ulafala, and he had like the black and white on with the shoes and like the whatever thing on his wrist and stuff, and having all like the Samoan Dynasty on the little like video screens that were kind of coming down. So I thought that was really cool. CM Punk obviously had the best entrance throughout the whole. Honestly, this was like the biggest match that felt like a WrestleMania match throughout the whole night. Was with CM Punk, and man, this was just cool. Just showing old clips and playing Kill Switch Engage and everything. Just hearing that music, talking about his career going all the way back when ECW was around, talking about being straight edge and stuff, and all his accomplishments from winning the WWE title and the world title and cashing in Money in the Bank to return into the company, and even coming out, with Living Color, playing Cult of Personality. He's got the hoodie on and Paul Heyman. It's clobbering time and stuff. Almost reminded me of WrestleMania 29 when he came out there. So that was one hell of an entrance. One thing I could say about this triple threat match, I know a lot of people kind of wonder, should this have been the main event? Because a lot of people wonder, what were the stakes behind this match? Because it's not like there was a championship on the line. I call this the custody of Paul Heyman match because it looks like everybody's trying to fight for Paul Heyman and stuff. That was like one of the biggest things that people kind of worried about for a second. Excuse me. But yeah, that was one thing that I lost my foot in there. But yeah, that's the thing people talked about. And one thing I think Cole said on commentary, this was for like pride and dignity. And hold that thought for 1 second. Sorry about that little pause delay. So, there's something at the door. But now, as I was saying, though, they talk about pride and dignity and everything throughout this match. I will say this: all three of these guys beat the living hell out of each other in this match. That immediately when this match began, CM Punk was standing right by Paul Heyman and Seth trying to convince Roman, like, this is about us. He doesn't belong here. He doesn't need to be in the main event and all of that. He should not be in this. And Roman just like, yeah, I'm not listening to you, and immediately punches him. Like, these guys like were scrapping all over the place. They went to the floor. They went over into the crowd and fought. Just into the crowd. You got Roman jumping out of the he jumped over the barricade, which looked pretty cool. I'll say that, when he went at both Seth and Punk. I know they ended up like trying to clear off like the table at one point. They had some interesting announce tables. I'll say that right there too. Very, very interesting. Like, not the regular announce tables that you usually see, but obviously it was like a lot of double team moves, people hitting finishers half the time. Punk doing like a big doomsday device clothesline with Roman like having a Seth up into the electric chair and stuff, and Punk going, obviously for the Macho Man elbow drop. Obviously we got more finishers then after that, which, good near falls and stuff. which was really good. Punk getting like the GTS on the Roman, but still a kick out right there. Excuse me. Yeah, trying to make sure I get everything. Yeah, doing it from there. Reigns spearing Rollins, still another kick out. Oh, one thing I thought was cool was Reigns tried to go for a spear, and then Seth hit him like with a pedigree in midair. So I thought that was pretty good too. But Rollins once again telling Reigns that he doesn't belong here. He's an outsider. He doesn't belong with us. And Roman just kind of wondering, like, what is he thinking? Should I join him? Because it's not like Seth, Seth is on his side and everything. It's like I gotta make a choice because Heyman may not be joining. So we thought we about to get a shield bomb right here, okay? And before I get to that, Kyle, take over for 1 second.
And no doubt about it. They pulled out all the stops in this match. Don't get me wrong. And you probably called it a nitpick, Gerard, but I felt like, you know, after a certain days happens in a match, I don't think the match should continue. I don't know if you remember the part where um Roman power bomb Punk through the table, and then put immediately threw him back in the ring and speared him. It was a 2 count. I don't know. To me, if you didn't want that to be the ending, I don't think you should use that spot right then and there. But I guess that was a little nitpicky. I don't know, but other than that, the match was how I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and let me say this too. Not thanks for taking over right there. Because one thing I don't know if you already had said this, but especially when I said Rollins was trying to get Reigns to join him, and they thought they was going to do a sheet. Fuck this! Like I'm not joining back up with the Shield is dead, since they can't never let go of the Shield. Which I feel like the funny thing to me, just leading to this whole match, every time they talk about the Shield, they did their best to make sure they don't talk about John Moxley. They kind of made sure not to really talk about him, but Roman just doing like the big power bombs on on both Seth and Punk through those announce tables. I don't know what those announce tables made of. It was like a lot of wood, but that did look really brutal. I will say that. That was like pretty good because he thought they was gonna do a Shield power bomb, but it didn't happen. But Rollins still got back. Rollins got back in the ring with Roman, got him back in and got him with another spear and still a near fall. And Reigns is just he's frustrated and everything, and talked about the favor and all that stuff, kind of talking to himself. And then, Punk ended up getting Anaconda Vice on the Reigns because Reigns had his submission in, but Punk countered it. And Seth came back like what was it? I think it was like a big splash off the top rope. And then did like curb stomped in there, but Punk got a GTS and still another near fall and stuff. But then we got closer towards the end. And this is where we see Paul Heyman throughout the night getting frustrated. And, he got a chair. And who was he going to give the chair to? He looked at Punk. He looked at Reigns. But he gave Punk the chair then. And Heyman just shook his head. But then next thing you know, he betrayed CM Punk and, low blowed him in. And then he thought he was helping Roman. He says, my tribal chief and everything. He made me do this. I didn't want to do this. He begged Roman Reigns basically for forgiveness and all that. And he says, look, we can get Seth. We'll do the Shield chair thing again. And then obviously Roman got the chair. And then Heyman just nut shot at him, which looked kind of weak, by the way. And, Heyman, not Heyman, but Reigns dropped in after that. And then, Seth just looked on. And then he turned around and got the chair and hit Roman with it, because we got to keep talking about this chair shot. And then what was it? He hit the curb stomp on him and won the match. I will say this about this whole thing. Obviously, this was the best thing out of the whole show. This was the best thing that you could say lived up to the WrestleMania quality of a match. My thing about all of this is this, though, when I talked about the stakes and everything and the custody of Paul Heyman match, I knew Seth was going to end up winning this and turning because the way they was doing promos and Seth telling Heyman, that favor, now you owe me a favor. And, because we don't see Paul Heyman try to bow back up with people. He says, get your hands off of me and all this stuff when he was telling Seth that. So you knew he was going to turn. That kind of gave it away. And I think the only thing that really surprised me out of this was Roman was actually pinned. Yeah, they could have pinned Punk, but obviously we want to keep Punk and Seth going. But pinning Reigns, though, getting his number again, hey, that means something. Now Reigns has lost 2 2 years in a row now, and now Reigns has nothing left. He has no bloodline around him. He has no wise man around him. He now has to basically do this on his own. The thing about all this, when I really think about it, though, is that why does everybody keep trusting Paul Heyman, knowing he's gonna betray you? Does Seth really need to be a Paul Heyman guy? It's a little bit yes and a little bit no, but it probably will bring him somewhere bigger and whatnot. But it kind of makes you wonder. It's like, Heyman's gonna betray you. Punk's already been betrayed by him before. Hell, Roman was betrayed by him before with Brock to some extent. So it's like, why do they keep trusting this guy? So I think we knew this was gonna happen. I think everybody knew. They kind of gave it away on Raw like a few weeks ago. I was like, yeah, Seth's most likely gotta win. So yeah, he ended up winning the match here, and they both walked out as Roman and Punk look disheveled at the end. So a hot main event nonetheless. But it's like I said, when it came to the stakes, a lot of people wonder what were the stakes. When I see Seth coming out there saying like, I got to do this. I got to protect the future of the business. I'm like, who talked about the future of the business out here? Roman's already at the top of the mountain already. So what are you talking about and stuff? That was never brought up. But given Seth's time throughout this whole feud, it's like, yeah, he was probably the odd man out of this to some extent, but you figured he was gonna win. So I enjoyed the main event. It's obviously the best match out of the night.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. The best match out of the whole night. But when I was saying before you got came back was I felt like certain spots should not be done unless you going to finish a match. It's like I don't know. It goes back to that table spot with Punk taking the power bomb and then immediately get thrown back in the ring to get a spear. Like I wasn't really feeling certain spots, but even though they went ball to the wall, so and that match was a good match. I definitely I definitely think they deserve it. They deserve that number one spot. I mean not the number one spot. That main event spot. I definitely do agree. They did deserve that.
Yeah, like come on, because like when you really think about this, I said it before. Who else was gonna main event this show other than like you're not gonna have Roman not be in the main event. So who else was gonna main event this show? Like looking at the card here, they had the main event the show. They really did. Say what you want about if it should have been a night of the story or not being a title on the line or a title shot. Who else was going to be in the main event of this show? Really sit there and think about that. Who else was it going to be? I know some people even tried to think that the women's triple threat, I know it's going to happen today, but they thought that was going to be the main event. Like, hey, if it was maybe Bianca and Rhea, I'd probably give a run for the money and probably agree on that. But no, the women's triple threat was never going to be the main event. Anybody that thinks that is low-key insane. That was never going to happen. Okay? So they're not going to go over Roman Reigns. Like, come on. Like, really, like, who's the draw here again? So literally think about that. And like I said, it's Punk, it's Roman, it's Rollins. They was gonna main event the show. There's no doubt about it. I just think people was expecting something on the line, not a custody of Paul Heyman match. But yeah, Gerard, what you think?
I really think the match was great. No way in hell we should do any other main event outside of that. Um, I thought the match was great. I thought the Paul Heyman turn was unexpected. I didn't see that shit coming at all, honestly. Maybe for CM Punk for sure, but not for Roman. Um, I wonder what this means next for Roman Reigns. Like you said, he has nothing now. He just got himself, and I wonder what that will bring of him, or if he'll just go into Hollywood for like 6 months and we just don't fucking see him. He goes back into the island of irrelevancy for a while, but very much so. I think this was the best match of the night. It was a finisher fest. I know KC, you said it may be nitpicky that so many things happened or so many people kicked out of so many things that should not have been kicked out of. I agree. I felt like the match could have ended like 8 different times, but I also felt like that was the feel of the match itself. So I don't mind it, but I also feel like, damn, nigga, like
Yeah.
the match could have ended like 8 finishes ago.
I agree, but I think because it's WrestleMania, I think they got to go out as all out as they can. But yeah, there were certain spots where it really could have ended, especially those shield bombs. Roman doing those power bombs off those announce tables. Because I'm like, I didn't even know if
Yeah,
those tables were even gonna break. I really wasn't sure if those tables were really gonna break in that.
same. I didn't expect them to break, and they broke easily.
So I wasn't really sure. So I can kind of understand, where it could have ended at several times, but like I said, I mostly overall enjoyed it. I thought the match was great. And like I said, obviously it's still going to continue Punk versus Rollins now because, Heyman betrayed. But like I said, I figured Seth was going to win because, like, to me at one point, I even said, like, maybe I would have liked this better if it was just Punk versus Roman in this feud. Because, like, I get why Seth was part of it, but at the same time, it's like, I would have liked if it was out without Seth for some reason because I feel like I've seen so much of Punk and Seth. I was like, you know what? I want to see Punk versus Roman. That seems more interesting.
I agree. I didn't expect Seth to win at all. I even told my homie, like, I'd be surprised if Seth wins. And he won. I was surprised.
So yeah, like I just feel like to me, I think they gave it away like a few weeks ago, especially with Seth saying you owe me a favor. Like where were they, huh? They didn't help you, Heyman. You're just a servant to them and stuff. When Roman got beat at Mania, what happened? He left you with his cousins and you couldn't handle it and stuff. And look what happened there. And Punk, he left the company for over 10 plus years and stuff. And everything. So it's a lot of history there to it. Whether it be from the Shield or when Punk was with Heyman or when the Shield was protecting Punk and stuff. There's a lot of story to this, obviously. I think, like the question I brought up before, once again, I think the main thing people brought up was like, what were the stakes? It was always the stakes because, like I said, this was a custody of Paul Heyman match. That's what I felt like it was. Like, who will get custody of Paul Heyman?
No, basically. No, basically.
So like that's how I looked at the whole thing.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I looked at it as, oh man, who gonna win Paul Heyman's service? But at the same time, I never understood what Paul Heyman's service gets you. So that's why they never really, you know, emphasized that enough. That why it's so important that any one of these guys get Paul Heyman. They never made it. They never made it a good explanation why. But other than that, I thought it was an overall good match. I was surprised, like y'all said, surprised that Seth won, and you know, let's see what might happen. Y'all might get that Roman and CM Punk match soon enough, because that's the only thing you haven't done yet. But yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's still gonna continue, obviously, when Raw come on. But like I said, like I wasn't too surprised at the finish because like I just figured it was gonna happen, given they kind of gave it away. But like I said, I think this was the best match out of the entire night of the whole show. Like next, I probably would put Tiffany and Charlotte. But like night one, and I feel like we talked about this before when it comes to night one and night two of WrestleMania. That night one isn't all that all the time, but night two ends up being kind of a little bit better then. So I feel like that's probably going to happen again tonight. But I just feel like, and I'll say this, going into WrestleMania, and I think this happened before. It's always like a bad build, but the show ends up being pretty good sometimes. But because I just feel like the build to Mania has not been good. Like a lot of it hasn't really. Like I know we already talked about a lot of matches. I'm sure it's going to be a lot more once we get good into night two and everything. But a lot of the build to a lot of these matches were not really good. And obviously, it's going to continue in tonight. So that's why I think it's kind of funny. I know people have been talking about Triple H, about him getting mad, on the internet, telling people to go be fans and stuff. And it's like, hey, man, like, well, dude, a lot of this booking wasn't really good. Okay. And going into the show tonight, I feel like it took time until like maybe Jacob and LA Knight. That's when I felt like stuff was starting to pick up a little bit more for WrestleMania, like with the crowd and stuff. But It just felt like if you took like the main thing that probably should have been taken out of this show was the New Day and the Viking Raiders. That shouldn't even have even been on the damn card. It shouldn't have even made the card. And I know it's going to be a lot of back and forth when it comes to Jey and Gunther and how that went, because I know people that'll sit there and tell you that Gunther should have went over. A lot of people really feel like Gunther should have went over. It's like there's no way they're going to put the title. I've seen people say, "Oh, we don't need to put the title on the new Scotty 2 Hottie right here and stuff." Like let's keep the belt on Gunther and everything. But it's like I knew they was gonna put it on Jey anyways for like multiple reasons. So I don't know, man. Like going into Mania, I feel like the build has not been so good. It almost like didn't even feel like I was going into WrestleMania. It's like I was waiting for WrestleMania to come in. But one thing I say, and I told Kyle this, like one thing they shouldn't have done was push the date back for WrestleMania. WrestleMania should have happened at the beginning of this month or like at the end of March. And we would have been talking about this like 2 weeks ago now. Because, we need to push it for a few more weeks to further the story. Well, a lot of the story hasn't really been good throughout this time, okay? Because even when they pushed the Rumble late in February or put in the Chamber in March, I don't think Mania should have been in the middle to the end of April. Mania should have been at the beginning of April. Like it really should have. So it's like it's really a weird thing going into this show. For like I said, when we get to the other feuds, when that happens, it's still going to be a lot to talk about with that, because even there's a lot of matches that you kind of wonder, like, damn, this really made the card, and it was like here for Saturday, and it feels like a little bit for Sunday too, but it was just really strange going into this show. I don't think the booking has been all that leading into WrestleMania. The hype isn't there like last year.
I definitely agree that the hype wasn't there. And like last year, you know, it's all because, like you said, it was too far apart. It's like, man, we had. I know you wanted to do some stories, but that's what the that's what the rest of the year is for you to build up enough story until you get to WrestleMania. You should have used the the road to WrestleMania to build new matches. The matches should have been done already, and y'all should have been building feuds already and getting people invested. But nah, they decided to do this, push it back, and build to WrestleMania was very lackluster.
Well, I'm pretty casual, so I can't say the build was good or bad in my aspect. I feel like it it did feel rushed in certain ways, but very much so the matches made up for how rushed the build may have felt. Again, the only match that I didn't like was the New Day match. Every match outside of that was pretty good in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like it was only maybe a few stories that were built up pretty well. Not a lot, but a few of them were. Obviously, the main event, and I think Naomi and Jade was built up really well too. Like Jay and Gunther didn't even really get good to like the last 2 weeks of the show until till they had the match on WrestleMania at the end. So, like I said, I just feel like it was too much time apart, and it just the hype wasn't there. And it's gonna be. I feel like it's gonna be like that for tonight too. But I don't know, man. Like just going into Mania this year, it's not like hype. Like hell, you didn't have the Rock. Rock made it hype last year. Really, Rock really made it hype last year. You ain't had a Rock this time.
Now you're right about that.
Like I'm sure he'll be there tonight. But yeah, it's like Rock and listen, when we get to that review for night two, it's gonna be a lot to say about that when it happens, because it's like I feel like I'll say this, I think The Rock is gonna be there tonight, but it's like I feel like he really should have been there throughout a lot of this feud for the WWE title. I'll say that. Oh, no comment then?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that The Rock going to be there tonight. You know, he should have been, there, at least 2, 3 weeks, and at least, But I think they did enough to maneuver around him that still kept people invested into the WWE title match tonight. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
but
sorry. I'm sorry. I was eating again. It's Easter and 420, so imagine how I am when I'm high as hell, and also Easter dinner is ready. So sorry, I was eating, but very much so. I do wonder what tonight's gonna be like. I feel like The Rock will show up, but I also feel like The Rock doesn't have to show up. I feel like Cody and John Cena can both put on a just barn burner of a match together. I wonder who's gonna win. To me, it's pretty up in the air. A lot of people are saying Cody. I feel like a John Cena title run as a heel would be the most unexpected thing. So I feel like there is a chance that that could happen, especially if The Rock does come in and interfere. Uh, I don't see like I can see a universe in which Cody Rhodes does drop the title to John Cena tonight. So I wouldn't be surprised by it at all. Um, I do wonder what the rest of the card is going to look like, though, as far as matches. Definitely stronger matches, but also just wonder, if we'll have a night one type of night two, if that makes sense.
yeah, because like night two is always better. One thing I want to plug in real quick. There is a match change through the show tonight. Bailey will not be in the tag team match later on. She will be replaced. So Lyra Valkyrie has to find a new partner. I know it's a whole thing that's been going on. I didn't hear about this till earlier, but I guess they attacked somebody, beat up Bailey in the back, and apparently she's not really injured, but she's getting replaced tonight at the last second.
Okay, okay. I was
Some
wondering
people
what happened.
some people believe it's gonna be Becky that's gonna return, but that's very interesting to take out Bailey at the last second before WrestleMania tonight. And then I saw Mercedes put a tweet up. A lot of people been talking about. I guess it was like a phone call or something with a. I don't know what the emoji was, but it was like a phone. I almost like telling her to come to AEW or something.
Oh man, just I'm cool. I like Bailey, so I love Bayleno. Um, very much so. Would love to see her do WrestleMania. If she's getting replaced with Becky Lynch, that would be crazy. Um, that would be completely insane. That would be dope. But very much so. Um, yeah, I don't mind that.
The booking of Bailey has been very strange to me, and I'll say a lot about that when I get to that night two review because Bailey's booking, man, has been just fall. It's the fall off for me. It's been a big fall off from last year. I'm just gonna say that right now. But the fact that she's being replaced at the last second is just very strange to me. So I don't know what's up with that, but when it happens, we'll get to that in the night two review. Other than that, I will say, is any final thoughts on night one of WrestleMania 41?
So last thoughts. I think it was a great night. 7 out of 10. What really 8 out of 10 matches for me for sure. Like out of all our matches, I just think the New Day could have not happened. Every other match was just good. They kept me entertained. They were really well paced. Um, I do have to go after this, so I will be dropping off the call. But I want to wish everybody a happy Easter if you celebrate. I want to wish everybody a happy 420 if you smoke. Have a good rest of y'all night. Can't wait to talk to y'all again about night two. Peace out.
All right, yeah, should be back tomorrow with it. Any final thoughts, Cal?
Yeah, my final thoughts. Like he said, I give it an 8 out of 10. It only match I wasn't invested in was the tag team title match. But other than that, I enjoyed night one.
Yeah, I think night one was good. It just took a minute to kind of get into. Obviously, my favorite match was the main event. I think the worst match was the tag title match, and I think my second best was probably the women's title. I think everything else was kind of okay to solid, but it just kind of it took a minute really kind of getting into throughout in and out the show just to be it's like Steven brought up to me to be like WrestleMania wordy and whatnot, and the main event really made it WrestleMania wordy and stuff. So I feel like night two will probably be better because it looks like it's always night two that's usually better. But we'll see. But yeah, like night one, it's like I felt like it was good, but it got better later on and stuff. especially once we kind of, got towards near the end of the show. But it was a little bit up and down for me a little bit here and there. But I still enjoyed it though. So we're gonna see what happens tonight. So yeah, other than that, night 2, I don't really know who's all gonna be on night 2 for this review tomorrow, but we'll see what happens later on tonight for WrestleMania 41. So like I said, I don't know how many people's gonna be on this show, but it's gonna be some type of review that's gonna happen. That's all I gotta say. So yeah, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at HoodNight890. Like this video, hit that notification bell, and you have anything to plug before we go?
No, just follow me at on Twitter and StraightFace40, and that's about it.
All right then. So yeah, hope everybody has a great holiday out there, Easter, 420, whatever you celebrate, and enjoy WrestleMania later on tonight. So we out of here. We'll see y'all then, and peace.